This is Peggy Smedley, the editorial director of Connected World magazine, and I'm here with Don DeLoach, who is the president and CEO of Infobright. Don, welcome.
Hi, Peggy. Great to be here.
Don, we've been talking about the Internet of Things and the ITA IoT Council and all the things you've been doing. Let's talk now and change gears a little bit and talk a little bit about the Internet of Things in general and where it's headed. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I think we're kind of in the infancy of the Internet of Things in terms of the models that are rolling out and the use cases that are rolling out. And I think we see a lot of really cool things happening, but there's still a ways to go in terms of architecture, in terms of governance, in terms of all kinds of considerations, really ranging from what's the role of the cloud to what's the role of edge processing, what are the role of the standards bodies. There's a lot that still has to come together, but I think the Internet of Things is off to an exciting start.
Looking at it right now, and we say that, people have been talking about where it's been, where it is, and where it's going. Is the momentum there now? Are companies, people, businesses, consumers really ready to embrace it? Or do we still have a lot of hurdles to overcome before it's really going to take off and really be something we're all saying, it's time, now we're ready?
Right. The answer is yes to everything you asked. It is time, and yet there are hurdles. The momentum, well, first of all, the hype is astronomical at this stage of the game, and that's not a bad thing because that says that culturally there's an awareness about the Internet of Things and everybody wants to know more, and I think everybody sees promise in this technology trend, which, it's the biggest thing since the Internet itself. And so I think there's a lot of anticipation and optimism, and yet there are still all kinds of hurdles to climb as we go forward. So again, the answer is yes, it's time to act, and yes, there are still obstacles.
So are companies going to start making money? Because we've been talking about this thing and companies are saying it's really only about services. Is there finally now about ways of creating new business models behind this, and we're going to really see companies improving their bottom lines and making some real money here?
I think that's true. I think it's going to be a combination of a number of things. There will be new business models, and people will rethink how they're deploying services, and I think in large part you'll see a shift away from just product-centric to service-centric and outcome-based deliverables. I saw a recent study that suggested that 77% of the money raised or the value out of the IoT would really come from value-added services, everything from applications to analytics to implementation services. So there's a lot of money at stake in terms of the value added back end, which we're only really starting to scratch the surface of now. But I do think that a lot of the traditional businesses will continue to be enhanced through a more effective use of the Internet of Things as well. So like in an industrial internet, the introduction of the Internet of Things in things like across the supply chain introduces a greater level of visibility than we've ever seen before, and that is generally cash right to the bottom line. So there's all kinds of answers to that question.
We've been talking a lot about it, the magazine. We've been saying it's the connected car has a lot of growth, healthcare. Now we're saying industrial. Where are the real market indicators of where the growth's going to be? Where do you see it going now?
Well, I think what you have to look at is where are the places where money can be invested without impediment right now. So the industrial internet tends to be a place where investment can be made in projects that have a very straightforward ROI, as opposed to some of the really exciting things that we're seeing, for example, in mobile health, and yet there are regulatory issues that have to be dealt with. Things like smart cities, where there are certainly policy issues and the bureaucracy of the operation of any type of government. So some things will lend themselves to more immediate implementation than others, but I think if you step back holistically and look at the trajectory, mathematically, it's going to happen everywhere. It's just going to happen faster in some areas than others.
So the city of Chicago going to make a lot of that happen here?
I think the city of Chicago is going down a good path. If you look at the Internet of Things, really probably was more aggressively embraced, for example, in places around Europe, in part because there was such a focus on energy utilization and sustainability. And so some of the IoT capabilities lent themselves very well to smart grids and smart power meters and the type of early implementation projects we saw in Europe. And as a result, you saw initiatives like the initiatives in the Netherlands, in the Amsterdam Smart City, and the Eindhoven Living Lab, instances like what we saw in Spain with the Barcelona initiative, with Santander, Zaragoza. And these are great joint public-private initiatives that I think pave the way for what we're doing here. I would argue that there will be initiatives like this all over North America, but right now I think the Midwest is making every attempt to get out in front of this, and with good reason. We have all kinds of industry represented here that will be users of the Internet of Things. So this is kind of where the rubber meets the road in terms of the technology meeting the use cases and benefiting the population. So we're excited about that.
Don, thank you for being with us. I'm sure we've got so much more to talk about as the city continues to grow, and the Midwest, talking about the ITA and the Internet of Things Council.
Yeah, it's always my pleasure. Thanks, Peggy.